Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Old School Wealth Building with Abraham and Friends. Today, I'm joined with one of my good friends, Kenneth Fowler. We're going to join and we're going to talk a little bit about the government shutdown, some of the do's and don'ts. But before we get into it, let's go ahead and let Ken introduce himself to the audience.
I'm Kenneth Fowler, like you said, retired military, U.S. Air Force. For 24 years, I did that thing. And now I'm a cybersecurity analyst, along with being a youth pastor at Cleft of the Rock Church, which I am passionate and excited about. So, three kids and a beautiful wife, and excited about doing some great things for the community.
Ken left off the fact that he also has a dog, but we're going to let that slide today because this is Ken's first time on the platform. Ken, we got a looming is another government shutdown. We've had 14 shutdowns since 1981. Shutdown lasted anywhere from 1 day to 36, 35 days. So I just said, well, I'm going to bring somebody on so we can talk candidly about how the government shutdown impacts our households from an old school perspective. Both of us served in the military. Both of us been around for a little bit of a while. From the gray hair, you can tell that. So Ken, in your perspective, in your own words, how does the government shutdown, when they say those words, how do they impact you?
Well, first of all, I want to say I don't see any gray on me, and I still have some hair on the top. So we won't get into that. But how does it affect me? The last few uh, government shutdowns that I've experienced, to be honest with you, didn't really affect me at all. Um, I've had money management, hanging out with friends like you have taught me to keep a little bit of money on the side anyway. That way, I won't be traumatized when these catastrophic events happen.
Some people will say, okay, well, y'all been in the military, y'all retired, y'all receive a income from retirement, but that income doesn't facilitate an entire household. As Kid has said, he has three kids. They're grown, except for one. You got a young man still in college at the house. So he still has a financial obligation that he's also trying to meet. He has a regular paying job. So, but we hear this in the media. We hear it every day. It's on a 24-hour news cycle. And they're really just kind of pummeling us on the government shutdown and the people that are in the positions to either decide we're going to shut down or we're not going to shut down. Is your job going to be impacted? So Kim, in your perspective, what are some of the do's and don'ts of a government shutdown?
Well, some of the do's and don'ts is don't panic. If
Oh,
you're
yeah, let's go.
prepared for life, you should definitely be prepared for some events like this. So basically, that's one of the main don'ts is don't panic. Um, you need to manage your money like you should always be doing, and I think that will prepare you and give you a little cushion from these experiences. I tell you, I can empathize with people who are living paycheck to paycheck, and I understand that, and this may affect them a lot more than it would me. But I've been I've been paycheck to paycheck before, so I do understand the trauma that it caused some people.
Yeah, I mean, we look at it and we see it on the news, and it comes on every morning, every afternoon, every evening. And when we pull back the proverbial blinders, we have to look at ourselves first. The expectation is not that somebody that's in a position that as an elected official is going to make a decision for our household. For most of us, we know who makes a decision in our household. But that's another episode. That's not this episode. But we know that as a family unit, we sit down, we try to put together a good financial structure. When I look at putting this channel together for old school wealth building and dealing with financial issues, the government shutdown fits squarely in there. And with the government shutdown as your catalyst, it's also an opportunity for preparation. So, Ken, what are some of the things in preparation in that mindset that you would utilize, no matter if it's a government shutdown or hurricane, depending where you're at, an ice storm, whatever may knock off your finances, that you would put in your preparation toolbox?
So I think any financial manager will tell you you should have a 6 month rainy day fund that
Mm.
will sustain you for a length of time. And we hope and pray that during that length of time, 6 months, something will happen with the government that they will restart and rekindle the funding again. So that rainy day fund is just key. We save money for trips and things like that. So definitely these requirements or necessities of life, you have to prepare. You have to make sure that you have 6 months of rent stored aside, and for food as well.
Now, Ken said he was a youth pastor doing his introduction, and Ken is quite familiar with tithing. Tithing is a part of the church community. You go in there, you do your tithes. And what I like about it is it's actually a habit formed through religion based, but it's a habit that people tend to follow pretty closely. You would say that, Ken.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would. In fact, even further than that, it's a supernatural investment as well. But
So
that's
we know what good habits are. Ken can attest to the good habits. So we want people, when you talk about old school finances, it's not talking about old people. We want to go in there, we want to look at things, we want to create good, solid habits. So if you got that habit, you can create another habit. Preparation helps you create the habit. Now, what tool you utilize for that habit, may it be a savings box under the bed, or maybe it's somewhere you collect your change at. Y'all know what we do. We get a little, we turn anything into a coin receptacle. We'll get an old mason jar and we'll say, hey, we're going to put coins in there. But what you're really doing is creating habits, and you're also creating preparation in the event that something like this happens. And I mean, we peel back the onion and we look at the last 14 government shutdowns from 1981. None of us really our common everyday comment. Oh, we're getting ready for the shutdown. But we're all preparing for any type of financial situation that may arise. Something unexpected, something expected. So so when we talk about preparation, Ken, what's a tool you utilize in your day-to-day to make sure you're preparing for any type of situation that may arrive? Not even just a government shutdown, anything that may come up, car wreck, a shortage of something that's overpriced. During the pandemic, we were out of toilet paper. It's like, okay, they was overpricing the toilet paper. So what you got in your toolbox that said, hey, this is what I'm going to do in preparation?
Well, I think another thing that went up was eggs just recently. Uh,
Mm.
they skyrocketed, and we just ate a few less eggs.
Hey, stop eating.
Yeah, a few less eggs. But in preparation, again, I'll go back to the tithing example that you started. Um, what tithing does is a habit, yes, but it also requires you to look at what's coming in, and then God allow you to more effectively manage what's going out.
Mm.
So we can't continue as a community to spend. Your income is 10,000 and 12,000 goes out every month. So I mean, those are key factors that keep us kind of shackled, if you will, for lack of a better word, in a condition of panic when things like this happen.
Yeah, we're looking for people in an office that does not have their agenda doesn't align with our agenda. That's their agenda is to go out there and vote. Our agenda is to vote on them to make decisions for the American people. But we're talking about stuff that's closer to home. We're talking about that day-to-day neighbor type stuff where you're talking to your neighbor about stuff. You're talking about your friends, your confidants. For me, I'll make sure that one of my golden rules is pay myself first. I pay myself. I get paid. I pay me, because at the end of the day, I'm going to look to count on me to ensure that I have the funds available to it. But I have to create good habits. And those habits are created over time. We're not going to create habits overnight. The government shutdown is not going to happen overnight. I know we got a looming date here in next month is coming up. We shouldn't wait for that date before we take action. As a community, we can take action every day. We can learn from each other. We can build some things, and we can do a lot of stuff that puts us in a position of preparation. We say, don't listen to the people that can't come into your household and help you firsthand. So don't go to the media, because they're not going to come into your household and help you firsthand. Don't wait for somebody else to do something for you, because at the end of the day, guess what? Their agenda is their agenda first, not you. So make sure you have your agenda first. Don't stay out there and hope that somebody's going to help you, because at the end of the day, you got to help yourself first. There are plenty of people out here that will help you. When I thought about putting together this podcast and bringing some of my friends on and talking, I was like, let's just talk plain. Let's not talk like, hey, look, this is that. No. We're going to talk plain. You got to get up. You got to start something, and you got to execute it, and you got to follow through with it. That's why they call us old school. Old school is just talking about good habits. So we're going to make sure we create good habits, and we're going to go follow through on those habits. Some of the dues, do go out there and find you a little jar or something and get into a habit of dropping your change in it. It's that habit that builds upon itself. So when you look at it and look back, you'd be like, oh, wait a minute, I saved $300. Now we know the bank gonna charge us now for turning our little coins in, but it's a lot different turning a coin in that you saved up and somebody taking a little bit of it versus you not having nothing at all in a situation when something happens. You gotta be out there executing some of the things that are floating around. Here's the interesting thing about old school wealth building. The same tools that have been out there for decades are still out there. If you look at it, look, crypto, that's probably the most newest tool out there. EFTs, newest tool out there. But ultimately, the same things they've been doing for generations, the same thing they've been doing now. So there's not a big change. So y'all, in preparation of the government shutdown, let's not worry about the government shutdown. Let's use it as an opportunity to prepare. Preparation is always going to be met with execution. So, and today I'm glad that Ken came in and joined me, and we talked a little bit about the do's and don'ts of the government shutdown. You got anything to say before you jump off here, Ken?
Hey, I do want to say from a spiritual perspective, too often people think about Christian, we believe God's going to rain down money from heaven to sustain us. That's really not how it works. We have a role to play in our sustainment or our successful living. And that role is being prepared. You educate yourself, get the right job, save the money. All these different things factor into your success in life. And I do believe in my heart that God doesn't want us to be in perpetual poverty. So as long as we prepare ourselves, do what we're supposed to do, and I think walk in the purpose of God. I think we all have gifts. And if we utilize those gifts in the form that bless other people, I don't believe that you can give and serve and be in poverty all their life. There's a blessing and there's prosperity, even in giving and serving. So those things are important. And also one more thing, we should not worry when the media or the news or people running around saying the sky is falling, even with this government shutdown. If you have faith and trust in God, who is your provider, and Christians say, God is my provider. If you really believe that, you can have confidence even in a government shutdown, that you will be safe and secure if you're following those practices.
Hey, Ken wrapped it up in a bow for us. Hey, welcome everybody for joining us for another episode of Old School Wealth Building with Abraham and Friends. Ken, thank you for jumping on here today. We'll talk a little bit later.